All right, so get ready because today we are doing a deep dive into, well, I guess you could say one of history's most famous love triangles, but with a biblical twist this time.
I like it.
We're going to crack open the book of Genesis, chapter 29, to unpack the story of Jacob, Leah, and Rachel.
Sounds juicy.
Oh, it's definitely full of family drama, sneaky deals, and some pretty intense emotions.
I'm ready.
You might even find yourself relating to these characters more than you think.
That's true. And, it's funny. What's fascinating about these ancient stories is they're not just, juicy gossip from millennia ago.
Right.
They give us this amazing peek into societal norms, beliefs about love, and how people navigated relationships way back then.
Okay, so let's set the scene.
Right.
We've got Jacob, who's on the run from his brother Esau,
Toby?
and ends up in Haran. And bam, he meets Rachel at a well.
And wells were like the social media of their time.
Really?
It was the place to be seen.
Wow.
Get the latest news and maybe even find a spouse, right?
Right.
And when Jacob sees Rachel, it's love at first sight.
He's smitten.
Totally smitten.
And he doesn't just stand there like awkwardly, looking at her.
Right.
He moves this huge stone covering the well to water Rachel's sheep.
Showing off.
Is he trying to impress her, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. It was a display of strength,
Uh-huh.
chivalry, and a way to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah.
Kind of like peacocking, right?
I see. Yeah, I get that.
And so begins the whirlwind romance. Well, not so whirlwind.
Okay.
Jacob agrees to work for Rachel's father, Laban, for 7 years.
Wow, 7 years.
7 years of hard labor in exchange for Rachel's hand in marriage.
That's a long time.
Even by ancient standards, that was a huge ask.
Makes you wonder what was going through Rachel's mind, right?
For sure.
Like, was she swept off her feet too, or was this more about her father, Laban, seeing an opportunity?
Ooh, good question.
Like, free labor for 7 years.
It's hard to say for sure, but, the text really focuses on Jacob's feelings, how those 7 years felt like mere days because of his love for Rachel.
Wow.
That level of devotion, though, definitely raises some questions.
Right.
Was this true love, or was he caught up in the ideal of beauty? Or maybe even, societal pressures?
I mean, it does make you think. Yeah.
It makes you think.
Okay, so 7 long years go by. The wedding day arrives. The party's in full swing.
Everyone's celebrating.
But then comes the ultimate plot twist. Jacob wakes up the next morning and it's Leah lying next to him, not Rachel.
Oh, no.
Talk about a rude awakening.
Poor Jacob. I mean, what was going on in that tent the night before?
Yeah.
Was Leah even a willing participant in this scheme?
Right.
Or was she just as much a victim of Laban's manipulations as Jacob?
Like a Shakespearean comedy,
A little bit.
with a very unfunny twist.
Right.
You'd think he would just, pack up and leave right then and there.
Yeah.
But no, he's still determined to marry Rachel.
Well, that's where Laban, the master negotiator, steps in. Right?
Right?
He offers Jacob another deal,
Another deal.
work another 7 years, and Rachel is all yours.
So 14 years for the woman he loves.
Yeah.
It's almost hard to fathom that level of commitment.
Intense.
I mean, was Jacob just blinded by love, or was there something else going on?
Maybe a bit of both, I think.
Okay.
We have to remember that this story isn't just about romantic love, It's about power, family dynamics, and societal expectations.
Uh-huh.
Laban was clearly calling the shots, and Jacob, driven by desire, was willing to play by his rules.
Okay.
But what about Leah?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Where does she fit into all of this?
It's heartbreaking to think about, right?
Yeah.
Jacob makes it clear that he favors Rachel,
Right.
which must have been incredibly painful for Leah.
Right. And it gets even more complex when you consider, the societal pressure on women to bear children. And the text tells us that God saw Leah was unloved
Yeah.
and opened her womb while Rachel remained childless.
It's a tough situation all around.
So while Jacob's heart is with Rachel, Leah starts having children one after another.
Okay.
First comes Reuben,
Reuben.
whose name means the Lord has seen my misery.
Wow.
Then Simeon, meaning the Lord heard that I am not loved.
Oh.
Can you imagine, naming your children from a place of such heartache?
I mean, it's a powerful glimpse into Leah's emotional state.
Yeah.
These names are like cries for recognition,
Right.
for love, for validation.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, did she ever find happiness in this complicated family dynamic?
And the plot thickens because Leah doesn't stop at 2 sons.
She keeps going.
She has 2 more, Levi and then Judah.
Wow, we've got a full-blown family drama unfolding here.
We've got this love triangle, the power struggles, and now a whole bunch of kids entering the picture.
The story constantly challenges us to think about those bigger questions. Was it purely God's will, or did Leah's actions, like her willingness to play the hand she was dealt, also contribute to the outcome?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to consider how the story might have unfolded differently if Rachel had been the one to bear children first.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think Jacob's affections would have shifted, or was he always going to be drawn to Rachel regardless of what happened?
I mean, it's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
And one that the text leaves open to interpretation, But it is clear that Rachel's inability to conceive weighs heavily on her.
Right.
Like, she even cries out to Jacob, "Give me children or I'll die."
Whoa, that's...
It's a raw, desperate plea that speaks volumes about the societal pressures she faced.
It's hard not to feel for her in that moment.
Yeah.
Imagine the anguish of watching your sister bear child after child, knowing that you're unable to fulfill that same societal expectation.
And Jacob's response isn't exactly helpful.
What does he say?
He basically tells Rachel, look, it's God's plan, not mine. Take it up with him.
Ouch.
Yeah, like, not exactly the most supportive husband.
No wonder Rachel decides to take matters into her own hands, right?
Right. She offers her maidservant,
Okay.
Bilhah,
Bill.
to Jacob as a surrogate.
Okay.
Which, believe it or not,
Really
was a
sad.
fairly common practice at the time.
Interesting.
It was seen as a way for a woman to solidify her position within the family
Okay.
and potentially gain influence through her children.
So Bilhah bears 2 sons for Jacob.
Right. Dan and Naphtali.
Read enough to Tali.
But then Leah, who has stopped having children,
Okay.
decides she doesn't want to be left out of this baby-making competition.
Oh, wow.
So she offers her maidservant, Zilpah, to Jacob as well.
It's like this intense game of one-upmanship,
Yeah.
right? With children being used as pawns.
It makes you wonder what impact this had on those children growing up in such a complex and competitive environment.
Yeah, talk about a blended family gone wrong.
Right?
We've now got Jacob, his 2 wives, 4 maidservants, and a growing brood of children.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It is. It's getting harder and harder.
And the story doesn't shy away from, like, the messiness of it all, right? It's a fascinating and sometimes uncomfortable exploration of polygamy, the complexities of family relationships, and the unintended consequences of our actions.
It really makes you think about the ripple effects of decisions.
Totally.
Yeah.
And just when you think it can't get any crazier, Rachel finally conceives.
Oh, wow.
After years of longing, she gives birth to a son.
Okay.
And not just any son, but Joseph,
Oh, yeah.
who will go on to become a pivotal figure in the Bible.
So it's a major turning point in the story.
For sure.
Rachel finally gets what she's always wanted,
Right.
but it comes at a cost, doesn't it?
It does. The rivalry between the sisters doesn't disappear overnight.
Of course not.
In fact, it arguably becomes even more intense, especially as Jacob openly favors Joseph.
It sets the stage for some serious sibling rivalry down the line. Yeah.
And it makes you think about how even the most loving parents can inadvertently create divisions within their families.
It's true.
But before we get into all of that,
Yeah.
let's pause here for a moment
Right,
and
yeah.
consider Leah's journey.
Yeah.
Do you think she ever found peace or happiness in this complicated situation?
It's a question worth pondering, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The text doesn't explicitly tell us,
Right.
but it hints at moments of strength and resilience,
Okay.
Despite the heartache and the lack of her husband's love, Leah builds a life for herself and her children.
Yeah.
And in a way, her story becomes a testament to the power of women to find their own path, even within the confines of a patriarchal society.
It's a perspective we don't often hear about when discussing this story.
I know, right?
It's easy to get caught up in the drama of the love triangle.
Yeah.
But Leah's story is equally compelling.
And perhaps that's one of the key takeaways for our listener today.
To look beyond the surface, to consider the untold stories, and to find the humanity in even the most ancient and seemingly foreign narratives.
Well said. Okay, so we've got a growing family, shifting power dynamics, and a new generation emerging.
You might think, oh, this would bring some peace to the family, but human relationships are rarely that simple, are they?
Especially not in this family, right? It's like the competition between Rachel and Leah just shifts gears.
Okay.
Now it's about which son is favored.
Oh, I see.
And guess who Jacob clearly adores?
I have a feeling I know where this is going.
Little Joseph, of course.
Of course.
The text even mentions a special coat that Jacob gives to Joseph.
A special coat. What was it made of?
It doesn't really say,
Right,
but,
yeah.
you know, it's a clear sign of his preference, right? Can you imagine how the other brothers felt seeing that?
Oh, I bet there was some eye rolls, some muttered complaints under their breath.
We all know sibling rivalry can get pretty intense.
It can get ugly.
Right, and this is like throwing fuel on the fire.
Exactly. And this favoritism really sets the stage for one of the most, I think, famous stories in the Bible.
Okay.
The tale of Joseph and his brothers.
Yeah.
It's a story about jealousy, betrayal, forgiveness, and ultimately the idea that even the darkest moments can lead to redemption.
You know, we won't spoil the entire story here.
Yeah, we don't want to give it all away.
But let's just say that those brotherly tensions escalate pretty quickly.
Okay.
We've talked about Laban's manipulations.
Right.
But it seems Jacob makes some questionable parenting choices himself.
It's true. It's a reminder that even the most well-intentioned actions can have unintended consequences.
Yeah.
Jacob's love for Rachel and Joseph kind of blinds him to the hurt and resentment he's causing among his other sons.
So after years of working for Laban and with a family that's, shall we say, complicated.
Complicated is putting it mildly.
Jacob decides it's time to head back to his homeland, Canaan.
Okay.
I imagine that was a journey filled with a lot of mixed emotions, you know.
Yeah, for sure. It's like a fresh start, you know, a chance to reconnect with his roots.
Right.
But it's also a journey fraught with uncertainty and potential danger.
Especially considering he has to face his brother Esau, right?
Oh, right. The one he tricked all those years ago.
The one he tricked years earlier. Remember, that's why Jacob fled in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be an awkward reunion.
I know, that encounter is a real nail-biter.
For sure.
You've got Jacob, who's been wrestling with his conscience, his past mistakes.
Yeah.
And now the fear of retribution.
It makes you sweat just thinking about it.
But thankfully, it turns out Esau isn't holding a grudge.
Oh, good.
They reconcile.
Wow.
There are tears, hugs, probably some awkward apologies. You know,
yeah.
It's a powerful moment of forgiveness and healing.
It really is. It's like a reminder that even broken relationships can be mended.
Yeah.
It gives us hope that maybe we can find reconciliation with those we've wronged, or even those who've wronged us.
So Jacob's back home.
He's back.
He's made peace with his brother, and things are looking up.
Yeah.
But then tragedy strikes.
Oh no, what happens?
Rachel dies giving birth to her second son, Benjamin.
Oh, it's so sad after all the longing and the struggles that she finally experiences the joy of motherhood only to have it cut short.
It's a stark reminder of life's fragility and the unpredictable nature of fate. It really makes you think about, you know, how this loss shaped Jacob and his sons, especially young Joseph and the newborn Benjamin.
It certainly casts a shadow over their return to Canaan.
Right.
But even in the midst of grief, there is a glimmer of hope, right?
There is.
The birth of Benjamin signifies continuity.
Right.
New life emerging from loss.
New beginnings.
It's a powerful symbol of resilience and the enduring human spirit.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
So we've reached the end of our deep dive into this biblical love triangle.
It's been a journey.
It's been quite a journey. It's a story that's captivated people for centuries.
Yeah.
And it continues to resonate with us today.
I think so.
But before we wrap up, I want to pose a question to our listener.
I love a good thought-provoking question.
All right, so what do you take away from this story?
Oh, that's a good one.
Is it a cautionary tale about the dangers of jealousy and deception? Or is it a testament to the power of forgiveness and the enduring nature of love, even in the face of loss?
I think it can be all of those things.
Yeah.
And maybe it encourages us to look at our own relationships, our own families, and ask ourselves, how can we learn from the past, navigate the complexities of the present, and build a future filled with more love, understanding, and compassion?
I think that's a great takeaway.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking those deeper layers of meaning in the stories that shape our world.